This episode of Muddy River Gems is brought to you by Dot Foods.
I think what it comes down to is the culture and the people.
Our culture here at Dot is like no other. I've never experienced anything like what I've lived with for the last 12 years.
Dot is very diverse.
It is truly a family-owned business, but it is a family inside and out.
You always feel like you matter and you play a big hand in the pot.
There's so many opportunities to make a difference at Dot and really contribute to the success of the organization.
We're near Louisiana, Missouri with another Muddy River Gem brought to you by Dot Foods. This may be Missouri's best kept secret. Since the 1990s, the Lay Center has been here welcoming people who love the arts, culture, and nature. Come along for a tour. Well, Janet Couch, we're not very close to St. Louis University, but we're close enough to get there, in a couple hours, right?
Yes.
And I'm going to call this one of Missouri's best kept secrets because a lot of people have not heard of the Lay Center, and they're going to hear about it now, and they're going to get a chance to see what it's all about. It's 350 acres of beautiful wilderness, and it's also settled enough that you can actually have groups out here for meetings and educational programs and those kinds of things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how did it get started? How did all this happen?
Well, it was a dream of Henry Lay's. I started working for him in 1999, and just as a secretary, bookkeeper, and office work. And it wasn't until I was working for him for a few weeks that he started talking about creating this outdoor sculpture park. And I didn't know what to think about that. And I couldn't imagine, but he spent hours with an aerial map and trying to figure out the paths that he wanted to take and where he wanted sculptures at.
Now he had already owned this property.
Yes, he bought it in 1996.
Yeah, and that was his dream, was to make this a reality.
Yes.
And our audience is going to get to see not only the sculpture park that you're talking about, and of course this area here, this educational area, but there's play areas for kids. There's a historic cemetery on the property, and there are trails, nature trails. So it's really it's something you could spend several times visiting, couldn't you?
Definitely. You can not see it all in one day unless you're really a good walker.
Tell me about the kind of groups that would use this facility here, because there are a number of buildings here.
Yes, we've had family reunions, wedding receptions, but it's probably used most often by St. Louis University, and they have different groups from there. Students, fraternities come up and spend the weekend here. Sometimes they're here to study, sometimes they're just here as a retreat. We've had fundraisers out here by the I believe the Buffalo Township have had some fundraisers and had dinners out here. So
it is available to the public.
Yes, it is.
They would just need to inquire when and how much and those kinds of things.
Correct. Right.
And then the sculpture park, all that's kind of thrown in, because you can drive in here and use these facilities as just for free, just to have a day's activities, right?
Correct. You can. Yeah. There's no charge for tours if you need a tour. The sculpture park is set up to be a self-guided walking tour, but we have a lot of people that cannot, for whatever reason, walk the whole tour, and so Joseph and myself are available with a little bit of notice to take them on a golf cart when they're needed.
Yeah.
So
well, can we start at the sculpture park and you can take us and our audience through there?
Yes.
And then we'll pick off some things as we go and sort of things of interest, and we'll talk about those.
Sure, whatever you want to know.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Janet, most people that don't get a cart, they walk the sculpture trail, but we got a cart. Okay, this is kind of interesting. This is where the sculpture park starts.
Yes.
And as you can see, you invite children here because it's right next to a big playground, so the kids are welcome anytime. But tell us about this piece.
Okay, this is Amelia, and she's the story keeper of the sculpture park, but in particular Story Woods, which is the children's area of the sculpture park that we're going to go into first. And then Amelia's big book is over here with a greeting with all of her little critters, with her greeting to everyone that comes.
That's clever.
But of course, she's got her turtles crawling on her arm, and the artist take on that was that she talks to all the creatures, all the children, all the people that come, and she keeps her stories forever. But she won't tell. So
she won't tell. The secret is safe with her.
That's right. And so this Story Woods was developed but the idea of it with Henry Lay and Michelle Van Heuvel. They worked together to create the concept of having an interactive sculpture park for kids to be out in nature and to see artwork and to have hands-on, and then also combine literature. So you'll see the big book, what's got a little story and a greeting, but inside the Story Woods there's also 6 smaller books, and it has things for them to suggest to do. Say, write a story or tell me this. And so with that, it's interactive in that way.
That's the literature tie-in.
Yes. Okay. Yes, that's the literature tie-in. And then you'll see also, we'll get in, and there's some of the pieces that were inspired by works of literature as well. So.
Janet, when you enter the sculpture area, you notice a lot of these metalwork pieces.
Yes.
And you can tell some of them they're very similar, but the reason they look alike is because they're by the same artist, right?
Correct. Wendy Klimper from Brooklyn, New York was the artist for this. And her work is very popular with the kids. And so we have a piece, another area of the sculpture park that was so popular that they decided they wanted to incorporate more of her pieces. So, and as I mentioned, I said the silhouettes along the wood line are animals that are extinct now, and then we'll go around in a moment, and there's a couple over here that are not extinct, but they're endangered.
Are you talking about turkeys? Or
No. What's along the tree line?
Oh, okay.
We've got a grizzly
bear.
These
are turkeys out
right,
here.
Right, and these
though,
are turkeys. Okay.
Okay.
And then of course her biggest, most prominent piece is the elk.
Wow!
And,
look at that on that big old hill. That is impressive.
And those antlers are, most of her work, it's done out of scrap metal, and she uses a lot of rebar. And so the antlers are rebar with marine epoxy on it.
Yeah, they surely look
and
real.
they from a distance especially, they look very real.
And there's another book just below the camera there. And,
so that's
and again,
a good
to tie into the literature that Mr. Lay was so
there's
crazy about.
6 of these.
And usually, you can see that there's a water feature here. Usually, the kids love this. There's like a lazy river or a little creek running down there.
It comes down like a little waterfall. Down. You can see the 2 areas.
Right now, it's not working.
It is not.
The pump's out.
Always goes out in hot weather, it seems.
But usually, there'd be moving water there coming down the waterfall. Yeah.
And then this bridge, this actually the second one. The original was done by an artist from Washington University, and it was a working drawbridge. And when it became to where it wasn't working very well, and so they replaced it. And then they had someone else build this one, and then the artist came back and did the final painting on it. And so he was fine with still having his name associated with it. That's based on a painting by Vincent van Gogh. And so the reason that you've got this etched glass here is, if you look through that, you can kind of line up the top of the bridge through there, and you can see the people along the marshy river there. That was in the painting. So that was, and so then also this side is brightly colored like the painting, but the back side, when we go around there, you'll notice it's just a solid color. And and the artist said that was to represent that it was based on a 2D drawing.
Well, Janet, this one looks like it would have been the devil to erect.
It was a little nerve-wracking, as I watched one of my classmates was always involved with a lot of the installations, and he had no fear of heights, so he was just on top of a let's see, what did they use? That wasn't a crane per se.
Yeah, one of those cherry pickers.
Something like that. But I have a picture somewhere of him.
Yeah, and what's the theme? It's fascinating and it's an attention grabber, but what does it mean?
Okay, well, it's based on you maybe cannot see, but it's the man on top of the chair doesn't have any clothes on.
Oh, okay.
It's based on the Emperor's New Clothes, a children's story. And then the chair is so it's called Meditations Over a Chair, and just the way that we sit and we ponder things as kind of the so and it's whimsical. And the same couple did another piece we'll see in a few minutes, and they just they like things that appeal to kids.
Well, we've mentioned Mr. Lay. He's the founder of this beautiful park, but he was honored shortly after his death, and he sits in a bench here sort of greeting people, doesn't he? Yes.
And they wanted to make it to where at least 2 kids could sit next to him on the bench, and it appears if he's reading a story and talking to them. And so this is a good place for a photo op. I've seen a lot of pictures on Facebook of people that...
It is sweet. It is really sweet. And the look on his face is so kind.
Right. And a side note is the bench that he's sitting on was the ironwork was done by a good friend of his, Darrell Reindaler, who was a blacksmith in Clarksville at the time.
Wow.
And so he did that, so they worked together to create this piece.
Well, Janet, we're near the historic graveyard here, and Henry Lay chose this place to be buried.
Yes.
He loved this area so much that this is what he wanted. In fact, not only did he choose to be buried here, but one of his friends, or I guess somebody that he commissioned art for, also provided a monument to him here in the form of the sculpture that's next door. That's a very nice connection, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And on the other side of that, there's a bench where people can sit and spend some time in meditation or prayer and just quiet reflection.
Henry Lay, as we mentioned, bought and built this place, or wanted to build it, and then passed away too soon, really. But it's still his place, isn't it?
It is. It amazes me that his dream did come to fruition.
We'll return to the Lay Center with Muddy River Gems, brought to you by Dot Foods, after this.
From our trucks to their lunch trays, to your local hospital, to your favorite pub, and to your kitchen table. For more than 60 years, Dot Foods and Dot Transportation have been stocking the shelves of your hometown. Sure, we've grown a lot, but at our core, we're still small-town, family-run businesses that care about our communities and the people who keep us running. Join the Dot family today and be part of something bigger.
Why work at Dot?
You could list out individual qualities forever.
There's a lot of opportunities.
They take care of the employees, they take care of the community.
So our pay, our benefits, it's competitive. Time off, tons of flexibility.
They're willing to work with you to help you advance.
Well, Janet, we're on our way up to one of the most dramatic pieces in the sculpture park, but we got to stop at this because these 2 pieces, which are really one piece, were very significant to Mr. Lay, weren't they?
Yes. Yeah. He picked these out himself by the artist Bing Ching, and he was hoping to get to see them installed, but he passed away before that happened. But he kind of liked the idea of having things that startled kids along the path.
Yep.
But the artist said these are metaphors, physical metaphors for the forces of nature, but in this case, the sun and the moon.
So the moon's on the left, or the moon's on
the sun's on the left.
The sun's on the left.
I always remember because you see he's shading his eyes. The sun's shining in his eyes.
And the moon is on the right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And that would be a little unsettling for some kids. Yeah. But Mr. Lay, and unfortunately, he did not get to see it.
No, he did not.
Well, Janet, this is the biggest piece in the sculpture park,
is.
and it involves numerous people. As we're going to see, it involves numerous animals and people and all sorts of activity. But what it depicts here is Mr. Lay really wanted to depict the movement west,
yes,
from Missouri out to Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Yes.
And this is what a family and a group would have had to do, right?
Correct. Not easy times.
It's just huge. Okay, and we've got this fella. He looks like he's leading up this project. He's got his dog with him, and he's based on Mr. Lay, isn't he? It
Correct.
looks a little like Mr. Lay.
Yes.
And Mr. Lay always took his dogs with him.
That's right.
Let's go see what's following here. This is called
Westford Journey.
Westford Journey. Okay. Okay. And it's simply unbelievable. You can see they're crossing. I guess they have just crossed the Mississippi River.
Yes, actually, it's supposed to represent the Mississippi River.
Wow! Look at those horses. They are just alive, aren't they?
And of course, these are the Missouri mules that are pulling the wagon.
Oh, the mules.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now they're riding horses, but these are mules.
Incredible.
And of course, they're struggling, and you can see the wagon's tilted. It's got mud covered on the wheels,
my goodness,
and so
and
it's
that guy's he's staggering to stay on it.
right. Correct.
Oh. And all of these all these people here are based on real life people. Aren't
Yes, they are. They were used as models for it.
Wow. They got children and the wife of the buggy driver, the wagon driver. What a trip, and that trip was taken by thousands and thousands of families.
Hard for us to imagine.
When you stand here on this peninsula, you can also see back over your left shoulder back here, you can see that there's a couple of stragglers back there, and I guess they're bringing up the rear?
Yes, yes, and they wanted to make sure that the group got across the river safely. So and I think they will cross as well.
Mm-hmm. And then what Mr. Lay really liked, he wanted this over on that peninsula. He also wanted a piece from the Eastern culture, I
Correct.
guess. Tell us about Three Sisters.
Well, the Three Sisters was, it's based on a culture from Southwest China of, I believe it's the Miao, M-I-A-O, and they were known for elaborate costumes, and they liked to, when they got done with their work day, but especially during the harvest, they would put on their costumes and have parties and dance and celebrate the end of the harvest. So that's what is represented there. And so that was the Eastern culture, and then that's why. And then Mr. Lay wanted to have something to represent the Western culture over here. So the East and the West.
And boy, he sure captured this one. I do want to bring just to our audience's attention a little bit. I said that these people were mostly based, these characters were based on real people.
Yes.
We saw Mr. Lay on the horse up ahead, and the fellow with the whip here, I love this whip.
Yeah,
Look at the way you can see it moving. But this fellow, who was this fellow?
This was the artist, Sonny Rivera.
Okay.
He said,
and it's also pretty amazing. There was a very tight time frame to get this done and to get it installed.
Yes.
And they made it, didn't they?
They sure
2
did.
years from the time he conceived it or drew it up and then started actually working on it?
Yes.
2 years.
2 years to get all this done. It came in 3 separate shipments on flatbed truck, and they were stored on the property until we were ready to install all of them. And that was a major process of
the installation?
The installation,
sure,
yeah.
Sure. What a feeling that would have been to have that behind him. Too bad Mr. Lay couldn't have been here.
Exactly. I like to think that he's able to see it.
Yeah. And on this lead horse, who's the lead horse?
That's Lou Garr, who was the trustee of the Lay Family Foundation that made all this possible. He contacted the artist and was determined this was going to be, that was going to happen.
Should be very proud.
Yes, he should be. And I love the detail of the ropes and all. There's just so much detail. And the artist made the comment, and he says, even though, of course, sculptures don't move, he goes, I have movement in all of them.
You can feel it.
Yes.
You can feel
That's exactly right.
Janet, we're sort of at the top of the property, and this body of water is aptly named. It's called Tranquility Lake. It's beautiful and peaceful up here.
It is.
It's one of 2 lakes on the property. We just saw the other one when we were looking at the sculpture, the Westward Journey sculpture. This is Tranquility Lake. And it's kind of like if you're taking the walking path through the sculpture park, it's kind of the end of the line, isn't it? So we're looking at the last, or what might be the last one that people see when they're on the tour. And this was supposed to be a temporary installation, but it's remained here for some years.
It has, since 2003.
Tell me about it.
Well, we had some temporary pieces when we first opened the sculpture park in 2003, and this was such a challenge to get up the hill and installed.
Oh, yeah, it weighs thousands of pounds.
That the artist asked if he could just please leave it here until he got it sold. And we've never heard from him since, so we kind of consider it our piece right now.
I think we'll adopt this piece. Huh? Tell us how the name of it fits with what we're seeing.
Okay, it's called Reclining Landscape with Satellite. So if you tilt your head to the right, you can see North America and South America in the metal pieces.
Yeah.
And then the granite piece represents the satellite that's going around the Earth.
I see. Okay. And it was here. You said it was installed when?
2003.
2003. More than 20 years ago.
Right. It's withstood the test of time so far.
Janet, if you have a lot of energy and you can make your way through this park to see all of the sculptures, this would be probably the last one you'd encounter, right?
Almost the last.
Almost. Okay. Tell me about it.
Okay, this is the last procession, and this was picked out by Henry Lay when he was still alive. And it's in a position to his home where it greets visitors as they come up, but it also watches over the property, kind of guarding. And the horse crossing over a narrow bridge represents the narrow path that we have. The artist said with the humankind versus nature and how we need to take care of it and take care of our world. It also was in 1999 when everyone was worried about entering into the new millennium and about everything was going to go haywire, but here we are, we're still here.
Yeah, so. I remember Y2K and how uptight everybody was about the computer information that it might be lost and how everything might be thrown out of sync. But as you can see, it's very old, it's very heraldic and old-fashioned, and but like you said, then meeting the future over the bridge. Huh? Wow.
Correct.
Yeah, really nice. Well, Janet, we're remarkably close to where we were when we started. We were looking at the buildings, and we got an overview of the property. This is the last sculpture we're going to see.
It is.
And it's very impressive. It's not like anything I've ever seen before.
It's one of the most popular ones that we've had with the kids, and which is what gave them the incentive to use this artist to do some of the ones that we saw in the children's area when we started out. So.
That same female artist?
Yes, Wendy Clipper.
From New York?
Yes, from Brooklyn, New York.
All right. And this is called Circle of Wolves.
Yes.
And if you look around, you see 4 wolves. What's the material that she uses here?
Well, she uses a lot of rebar, scrap metal. This has some railroad spikes in it, and then the coating on it that makes it look like the bone is marine epoxy.
Wow. And actually that kind of helps preserve everything.
It does,
doesn't it?
It does, right.
It's a remarkable piece of work.
It truly is. And it's always been a favorite among the kids that come out in here and tour.
Yeah. Well, we've seen as many of the sculptures as we have time for, but this is also a historic cemetery on this property.
Yes.
And interestingly, the family that first settled this property was a Revolutionary War soldier. So let's go to his grave and talk a little bit about the history.
Okay.
What about that?
All right.
Well, Janet, this piece of property existed long before Mr. Lay.
Yes.
In fact, we think that probably the first man to live on this property would have been a man named McElwee.
Yes, James McElwee.
James McElwee, and he was a Revolutionary War soldier.
Yes.
And he moved his family here shortly after the turn of the century, the 19th century, and lived here for quite a long time. And in fact, the cemetery is named after him.
Yes.
And many of his neighbors and family and contemporaries are also in here. It's really fascinating. Tell us what you know about him.
I don't know a lot other than he was a Revolutionary War soldier, and he had a large family, had 14 children, and I'm not sure how many grandchildren, but they say, I believe, 14 of the grandchildren are buried on this property as well. The local DAR left him a commemorative plaque honoring his service. He was married to Rhoda Black.
And she is also buried here?
Yes, and she's buried here too. So sadly, her stone has deteriorated.
But his, this is Mr. McElwee here. This one.
Yes, that's the original.
You can
stone.
see what happens to those over this year. They actually begin to fall apart. But then the family went ahead and they memorialized him in this newer stone.
So hopefully that'll be around for many, many years with the information that everyone needs to know about him.
This is, a lot of people, they dig into history through cemeteries. And this particular place on the Lay Center is open for people to view and come through. You don't invite anybody to really touch anything or disrupt anything, but they are here to look. In fact, some of the Boy Scouts, local Boy Scouts, have helped.
Yes, they have.
Preserve some of the stones. Yeah, it's very interesting. And like I say, these people would have lived in this Pike County neighborhood back in the 1830s and 40s.
Correct. They would all have a local connection, been neighbors and friends and family.
The Lay Center is open every day, and there is never a charge to visit for those who love culture, art, and nature. From Louisiana, Missouri, with another Muddy River Gem brought to you by Dot Foods, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
This episode of Muddy River Gems was brought to you by Dot Foods.